Help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. She brushed past me in the kitchen like I was part of the appliance row. I set a plate down, reached a hand to her shoulder. She stiffened like a board. Don't, Kara muttered, lifting the fridge door. I'm not in the mood. You hungry? I kept my tone even. I made salmon. You asked for it last week. Schedule changed. She grabbed a yogurt. I have a call with Madison. Don't wait up. It's 8. We plan to walk. She slid the yogurt back in as if the fridge offended her. I don't want to walk. I want quiet. Do you want to join me tomorrow at Jake's? He's doing ribs. I'm not going to your neighbor's backyard show, she said, already tapping her phone. You go? You like that stuff? I watched her head down the hall with her earbuds, the door closing behind her like punctuation. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have cut the rope that night and saved us both a couple of ugly weeks. I rinsed my plate, took out the trash, and checked my calendar. I keep one for work and one for the house. It's not complicated. I run an auto shop, I like regular hours, and I keep my promises. Kara used to like that about me. Lately, she treated consistency like a weakness. The next morning, she floated through the kitchen in an oversized shirt, hair in a loose knot, eyes on her phone. I poured coffee and slid a mug toward her. You're up early, I said. Meetings. She clipped the lid onto her travel mug. Do not call me today unless the house is on fire. I don't call you during work. Then we're aligned. She glanced at the counter. Is that my lunch? It was, I said. You didn't answer last night. I wasn't sure if you'd be home. Then don't make it, she said, tossing a granola bar into her bag. I'm not a child. I let that one pass. She left without a goodbye. The front door clicked like a stopwatch lap. By noon, Andrea, the service writer at the shop, leaned on my office door with a stack of invoices. Andrea is blunt, which I respect. You look like you slept in a toolbox, Mark, she said. You want me to push the Henderson brake job to tomorrow? I'm good, I said, spinning a pin between my fingers. Drop it at Bay 2. She watched me for a beat. Don't bring the house into the shop. That's my only sermon. Noted. I stood, rolled my shoulders. What's next? Customer who thinks his truck drinks gas because of a conspiracy, she said. You or Nate? Give me the conspiracy. Nate takes the ones who want to chat. Andrea shifted the invoices to her hip. You know the only person you're allowed to fix here is the person who pays the invoice. I know. Good. She tapped the doorframe. Then put the wrench down at home. Or don't go home. That night at Jake's backyard, the grill threw steady heat. A game murmured from the living room, and Kara was absent by choice. Jake handed me a plate heavy with ribs. Megan passed a bowl of coleslaw, and their kid zigzagged through the yard like a wind-up toy. Where's Kara? Megan asked, rinsing her hands at the hose. Megan is polite in a way that says she sees more than she says. Busy, I answered. Long calls. Jake smirked. Big account. She didn't say. Megan dried her hands on a towel. You two okay? I stabbed a rib with my fork. We're recalibrating. Jake raised an eyebrow. That a shop word or a marriage word? It's both, I said. Either it runs or I swap parts. An hour in, Kara texted a photo of a salad from someplace across town. No caption, just the plate. I pocketed my phone. Megan caught the move. You don't want to answer? She's not asking anything, I said, and took a bite. The next morning, Kara sat at the bar with her laptop open and 2 empty seltzer cans to her left. I need you to drive my dry cleaning at lunch, she said, eyes still on the screen. I've got 4 cars lined up. You can take a lunch, Mark. You're not a machine. You said not to call you at work. I replied, stirring my oatmeal. Same applies here. Text me requests a day ahead. I'll see what fits. She looked up. Is this a new rule? It is, I said. It keeps confusion low. I'm your wife, not a customer. You get priority, I said, when we treat each other like partners. She shut the laptop. You're making this difficult on purpose. No, I said. I'm making it clear on purpose. She scoffed and stood. You're being dramatic. No drama. Just schedule. That was initiative number 1. New lanes, new rules. I posted my weekly hours on the fridge, including what nights I'd be at the gym and which weekends I'd be working on the truck. I added Sundays. No obligations before noon. It wasn't a threat. It was a plan. The first softening came 2 days later. I got home at 7 to find the table set, and a pot of chili simmering. Kara stirred the pot like she was auditioning for a commercial. I thought you might like something warm, she said. Long day. Standard. I answered, setting my keys in the bowl. Smells good. I was short with you, she said, not quite meeting my eyes. Work's heavy. I don't mean to take it out on you. I hear you, I said, taking bowls out of the cabinet. But the rules stick. Text ahead. No last-minute errands. Of course. She set 2 bowls on the table. I can do that. We ate. She told me a story about her boss. At one point, she reached for my hand. I let it sit there, and it was fine. It lasted a minute. I cleaned up the dishes and went for a run. I didn't announce it. I didn't stay to make it feel like a scene. 2 days later, the softening evaporated. Kara leaned in the doorway while I packed a tool bag for the weekend. Jake had invited me to help frame a shed, and I said yes, because a man should use his hands for something that pays respect back. You're going to his again? She asked. For a couple hours. What about brunch with Madison and Tyler? She poured a seltzer into a glass like she was hosting a talk show. You forgot. You told me about it yesterday, I said. That's not enough notice. I'm out. She laughed through her nose. Your little fridge memo is cute, but the world doesn't care about your bullet points. I zipped the bag. I do. So I'll live by it. Whatever. She took a sip. Try not to embarrass yourself with Jake and his Instagram projects. At Jake's, the shed went up in clean lines. Jake's brother, Cole, cracked jokes. Cole has the kind of grin that invites trouble. He pointed at a mismeasured board in the pile. You cut that, he asked. I did, I said, wiping sawdust from my forearm. Off by a ½ inch, Cole announced. Kara would roast you for that. I set the board aside. She's warmed up already. Jake stepped in, tapping the board with his boot. It's wood, not a wedding cake, he said. We cut another. You want a beer, Mark? I'm driving, I said. Water's fine. Megan appeared with a pitcher. She looked between me and Jake. You two good? We're good, I said. You know, Cole said, aiming for a laugh. Some guys just need a leash. Jake shot him a look. Drop it. I carried the board to the saw. Public boundary, delivered with a saw hum. I'm not a punchline. I kept cutting boards and stopped showing up to her group events. That was initiative number 2. In the mandatory togetherness, where I'm the background prop. I wrote it out once, in plain language, on a sticky note on the fridge. I'll attend events that respect both of us. If not, I'm out. She left it there 2 days, then tossed it without a word. Message received on both sides. At work the following week, Kara called at 11:30. Andrea glanced at my buzzing phone and slid it toward me with a pen resting across it like a baton. You taking that? Andrea asked. Lunch rush, I said. She can text. Andrea nodded, approving of the policy more than the marriage. Your 9 o'clock is late. Want me to bump him? Give him 10 minutes. Kara texted, pick me up at the salon. My ride fell through. I texted back, can't. At work. You'll need another plan. Her reply, you're unbelievable. Me, I'm at my job. Use a ride app or reschedule. She didn't text again. She arrived home at 3 with a shopping bag and a cold front. You left me stranded, she announced, setting the bag on the counter like evidence. You had options, I answered, cleaning a ratchet with a rag. You chose a bad one. Normal husbands pick up the phone. Normal partners give notice and don't drop their day on someone else. You're not a partner. You're a machine with a calendar. I wiped the ratchet and put it away. Better than a foghorn with a wish list. She let out a laugh that wasn't amusement. You think you're funny. I think I'm clear. Friday night, we went to a restaurant for Megan's birthday because Megan asked me directly, and I respect her. Kara decided to come 15 minutes before we left. At the table, conversations braided around us. Kara leaned close to Megan and spoke just loud enough to carry. Mark is very process, she said, waving a hand. He needs an instruction manual to load a dishwasher. A couple of people chuckled out of reflex. I set my fork down. Kara, I said, voice steady. If you talk about me, do it with respect. Or don't include me. She blinked as if surprised by pushback. It's a joke. It's a message, I said. I heard it. Here's mine back. Keep me out of your material. Jake reached for his water, trying to change the subject. So football. Kara interrupted, leaning in as if offering a secret. He labels the shelves in the garage. I'm not exaggerating. I turned to the server standing by with a pad. Split my check. I told him, and pointed to my plate. This, the starter, and the iced tea. I'll wrap it to go. The table went quiet in a hurry. The server nodded, professional and quick. Kara stared at me as if I'd broken an oath. You're leaving? She asked. I'm not staying for another round of your commentary, I said, reaching for my jacket. Megan, happy birthday. I'll drop a gift tomorrow. Megan swallowed, choosing careful words. Thank you for coming, Mark. Sure. I nodded to the table and headed out. That was initiative number 3 on foreign territory, the public boundary with a consequence attached. No lecture, just a bill split and exit. Kara came home late and loud. She rattled the bedroom drawers, clacked her heels on the hardwood, then stood in the doorway with her arms crossed like an umpire. You embarrassed me, she said. You did that, I replied, closing my book. You made me look like I nag you. You performed. I set a limit. She laughed without humor. You're overcorrecting. It's exhausting. Then rest, I said, turned off the light, and slept. The second softening hit on Sunday morning. I came back from a run to find the bathroom spotless and a new towel folded on the rack. Kara stood at the sink with a printed schedule of my week. She'd highlighted the gym and added little check boxes. I want to get on your rhythm, she said. Maybe we can lift together on Tuesdays. Or we can do meal prep Sundays. I'm trying. I leaned in the doorway, shoes untying themselves as I stepped. Tuesdays I lift with Nate, I said. Sundays before noon are mine. She kept her face open like a storefront. I can fit your rules. I want harmony. That starts with respect, I said. Not choreography. She dropped the paper slightly. You're not giving me anything. I'm giving you a clear man, I said, hung the towel straight, and walked out. If the bathroom sparkled to lure me back into the old arrangement, it missed. Clean tile is nice. Clean boundaries beat it. 2 more days of frost, a few snipes about my schedule religion, and then the fuse reached the powder. It happened on a Wednesday night. I set 2 plates on the counter. She scrolled her phone and didn't look up. Eat? I asked. Already did, she said. I cooked. I'm not hungry. Then stop inviting me to read your mind, I said, sliding 1 plate into the fridge. She looked up, finally. You know what, Mark? She set her phone down with deliberate precision. You're easy to replace. The words didn't come with heat. They came flat, like a policy memo. She watched me like I was a test subject who might validate her theory. I put my keys in my pocket. No speech, no noise. I walked to the garage, hit the door, and backed out. 10 minutes down the road. My phone buzzed. A text from Kara. When you're coming back, get me sweets. I pulled into a big box store lot, parked, and sat for a minute. Then I went in and bought a large suitcase. Not candy, a suitcase. On the way home, I stopped by my storage unit, the one I rented 2 weeks ago when I started posting rules on the fridge, and grabbed 2 empty bins. Logistics don't argue. They just work. I carried the suitcase into the living room and set it upright against the wall. Kara looked up from the couch. A show flickered silently in the background. She raised an eyebrow. What's that? She asked. I unzipped the suitcase, extended the handle, and parked it by the hallway. Pack your things. It's time to move out. She sat up like she hadn't heard right. Excuse me. You were clear, I said. I listened. You're not serious, she said, voice pitching up. Over 1 comment. It's the invoice for the last month, I replied. Cold, mockery, demands, public digs. Tonight you submitted the final line item. I'm closing the account. You can't just. I can. I pointed toward the bedroom. You'll pack your clothes and essentials tonight. I booked a short-term rental for 2 weeks. After that, you'll sort a longer plan. I'll cover the first week. You'll handle the second. Her mouth opened, searching for the lever that used to move me. You're throwing me out? I'm ending a setup that doesn't respect me, I said. You told me I'm easy to replace. I agree. Replace me. Somewhere else. Kara stood, palms flat on her thighs. This is ridiculous. We're married. We were supposed to be partners, I said. You pivoted to manager. I don't work for you. She tried a different approach, softer now. You're overreacting. I was frustrated. You were practicing, I said. The rehearsal is over. She laughed, but it cracked in the middle. Fine. Fine. You want me gone? I'll go. But you'll call tomorrow and you'll say this was a mistake. I won't, I said. I'll send you a list of what's yours that I packed in bins. If I miss something, you'll send a note. We'll schedule a pickup. No drop-ins. What about my things? She gestured toward the house like a tour guide. The rug, the dishes, the chair. You can take what you bought. We'll keep it simple. You'll text me links to statements or orders if we disagree. Until then, you take clothes and personal items. The rest we inventory on Saturday at 10. Andrea will be here to witness. She takes notes like a court reporter, but charges less. You're bringing your work people into our home? She asked, scandal wrapped in the word work. I'm bringing a note taker, I said. It keeps the noise low. This is insane. It's adult, I said. We skipped that step. I'm adding it back in. She didn't move. So I rolled the suitcase into the bedroom and set it open on the bed. I pulled 2 empty bins to the doorway. Kara, I said, meeting her eyes. Pack. She came down the hall, furious in silence. She yanked open drawers and started tossing clothes in jagged folds. I stayed in the doorway, arms crossed, a quiet guard. She spun on me. You don't get to stand there like a security guard, she said. Leave. I'm here to keep it clean, I said. This process gets loud quick. I'm keeping it quiet. She resumed packing with dramatic zippers and hangers clacking like cymbals. After a while she stopped, hands on her hips. Where am I even supposed to go? The edge dulled for a second. I don't have, I don't. Short-term rental, I said. I booked it. It's 2 miles away. It has a kitchen. You'll be fine. She blinked. You plan everything, don't you? I plan what matters, I said. Respect matters. You're not generous, she said. You're cold. I'm precise, I said. You misread it as weakness for a while. That ends tonight. She zipped the suitcase closed in a long rip and rolled it to the hall. I picked up the bins and followed. In the living room, she paused by the coffee table and looked around like the room owed her an apology. You really think you can replace me? You replaced me, I said. With noise. You'll find a listener. Good luck with that. She hauled the suitcase to the front door and stopped again, different strategy loading. Wait, she said, voice lower. Let's talk. You're tired. I said a thing I shouldn't. We can fix it. I'm not a project, I said. No adjustments. We're done. Her eyes flashed. So you're proud of yourself? You win. No one wins here, I said. I just stopped losing. She looked at the suitcase, at me, at the suitcase again. You'll call, she repeated, less sure now. You'll miss me. I'll miss what we were supposed to be, I said. Not what we became. I rolled the suitcase out to the porch. The evening air held the kind of quiet you don't hear until you cut the TV. Jake across the street glanced our way, then looked back at his grill. Kara stepped outside, stopped halfway down the steps, and turned back. I hope your schedule can hug you, she said, trying for a dagger. It already does, I said. It keeps me from hugging the wrong thing. She shook her head, half laugh, half scoff. You'll regret this, Mark. Not my style. I held the door. The code changes at 9. Pick up the rest Saturday at 10. Bring a list. No extra commentary. She stood there a second longer, then rolled the suitcase down the walk, heels loud on the concrete. I closed the door with no slam, just the click that belongs to a decision. Saturday at 10, Andrea sat at the table with a clipboard and a travel mug. Kara arrived 5 minutes late with sunglasses and a brittle smile. Jake hovered on his porch like a reluctant referee, but stayed out of it. I kept the rooms open and the bins sorted. We were efficient. Kara tried small shots. You're very proud of that chair, huh? And I ignored them. Andrea wrote everything down like it was a parts list. In an hour, we were done. At the threshold, Kara paused. You built this place with me, she said, softer than I expected. You're just going to. I'm not erasing history, I said. I'm ending a bad present. That's enough work for one weekend. She nodded once, sharp, then left without another word. Andrea handed me the list. You handled that like you handle a seized bolt, Andrea said. Steady pressure. No heat. Heat burns the threads, I said. Yeah. She tossed the pen into her bag. You free next Saturday? Some friends are coming by for a fish fry. They're normal. They won't ask for parts at a party. I'll come, I said. I'll bring something that doesn't argue. After that, the house felt twice as big and quieter than a shop at closing. I rekeyed the lock and organized the pantry because order is my peace. I moved my clothes to the hall closet and left the bedroom as a bed and a lamp. Simple. I stopped checking my phone for incoming weather reports disguised as texts. Kara sent a short message 2 days later. I left my navy blazer. Can I grab it tonight? I replied, bagged on the porch at 6. I'll be out. She tried again. Can we talk? We already did. There was an attempt at charm a week later. She sent a photo of a steak on a skillet with the caption, "Thought you'd like this." I didn't respond. When a system fails, you don't praise its theme music. A month later, I signed papers on a small place across town with a yard that needed a man's hands and a garage that would fit my tools, the bike, and a workbench. Not a mansion, just mine. Saturdays, I'd drive the pickup to the hardware store and buy lumber that didn't talk back. Sundays, I'd sit on the back steps with coffee and a list, crossing off items as I built them. I swapped the heavy couch for 2 solid chairs and a table that won't wobble. Work picked up. Word gets around when you treat people straight. Nate took over more diagnostics. Andrea wrangled the front like a boss, and I added 2 lifts in the back bay. On Wednesdays, I ran at the park with a group that didn't care what you did for a living as long as you kept pace. I slept, not like a hero, just like a man who ended a loud machine. I met Claire at Andrea's Fish Fry. Claire teaches high school math. She talks like she's thinking 3 steps ahead and laughs with her whole face. We talked about engines and geometry and why people ignore warning lights. I walked her to her car, and she said something simple. "You seem steady," she said. "I am," I answered. Took some work. She didn't fill silence with noise. That was new and good. Word drifted back about Kara in the months after. Not from snooping. Life tells on itself. Megan mentioned in passing that Kara rented a room with 2 other women near downtown. Jake heard she changed jobs twice, then started consulting, whatever that means. She posted a quote about strong women on her social page and tagged no one. She bought a rug that looked like the old one. The effect was a copy that didn't stick. None of that made me smile. It wasn't my scoreboard anymore. It was a weather report from another state. One afternoon, I saw her in the grocery store. She held a basket and stared at a shelf like it could fix something. She spotted me and lifted a hand halfway, then lowered it. I nodded once, polite and distant, like you do with an old coworker at a gas pump. She walked past. No scene, no speech. Clean break. Claire came by that evening with a bag of apples and a straightforward question. "You good?" she asked, setting the bag on the counter. "Good," I said, and meant it. We baked a pie that didn't look like a magazine picture, but tasted like a Saturday done right. Claire teased me for measuring the cinnamon like I planned break jobs. I grinned and let the comment land. It was a joke, not a dig. Respect makes the same words feel different. People think the win is the speech. It isn't. The win is the standard you enforce when no one's clapping. It's the suitcase at the door instead of the candy on the list. It's the clear rule on a fridge and the clear lock on a door. When Kara said, "You're easy to replace," she gave me the last piece I needed. I believed her for once. I made it true, not out of spite, but out of respect for the man I answer to in the mirror. Sometimes at the shop, Andrea will glance at me over a stack of work orders and smirk. "You ever miss the chaos?" she asks. I like the quiet. I answer and get back to the wrench. The night we finished the workbench in my new garage, Jake came by with a 6-pack of soda and a grin. "This is clean," he said, running a hand along the tabletop. "You going to label the drawers?" "Yeah," I said, catching the joke and letting it stay a joke. "So I can find things I care about." Jake nodded, serious for once. "You did right," he said. "Hard and right usually show up together." "Hard is fine," I said. "I've got time." We stood a while in a garage that didn't judge anyone. The radio hummed low. The bench light made a clear pool on the wood. My phone stayed on the shelf, quiet. The last thing Kara ever heard from me was at the door the night of the suitcase. I didn't raise my voice or ask for understanding. I didn't repeat myself. I opened the door, made space for the suitcase to roll through, and gave her the line I reserve for the moments when a man draws the line and doesn't step back. "Respect is the ticket," I told her. "Keep it, or travel alone." She chose. I followed up with action. And life, which respects people who respect themselves, made room.